If you ask yourself, why am I here? What's my purpose? How can I fulfill my potential? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Lifestyle, Relationships, and Career Human Design series on Insight Timer. I'm your host, Vanessa Naja. My mission is to help you be on purpose and fulfill your potential by aligning in body, mind, and spirit so you can feel empowered, joyful, connected, and free. I am so excited to share with you how to do that through human design. If it feels aligned, I'd love it if you follow me on Insight Timer and share with your friends. Now let's get to the episode. It's always a good idea to have your human design chart with you when listening. You can get yours for free by doing an internet search for free human design chart. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Manifestor human design type. And this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart because my mom was actually a manifestor, and I didn't learn about human design until after she passed away. And it gave me so much of a better understanding of how she operated in the world. And I wish that my mom could have had this information. So I'm excited to share it with you, help you learn more about yourself if you are a manifestor, and also for those of you that are not manifestors, to help you understand your loved ones that are manifestors better, because they are these uniquely impactful, beautiful beings that can be a little bit hard to read. And yeah, sometimes that makes people a little uncomfortable. So having a better understanding of the manifestor type is my hope for everybody that is listening or watching this. So the manifestor type are only 9% of the population, which makes them the second least common of the types. They are powerful, innovative beings. They are impactful. They are highly individual. And their aura is really hard to read sometimes. And this can make people a little bit uncomfortable. And we'll get a little bit more into those mechanics later in the episode. So in quantum human design, manifestors are called initiators because they are here to start things. They're here to get the party started, to initiate other people into all kinds of things. And in BG5, which is the business branch of human design, they are referred to as innovators because they're innovative. They get these creative urges. They have this connection to the universe that is unique to them. And this comes through as urges to do something, to get something started. These are not necessarily verbal. They are more visceral feelings in the body, and they can seem completely like just out of the blue, totally left field. They can sometimes be really ahead of their time. And so sometimes they're misunderstood because, like I said, they're individual and they're here to start things that have not necessarily ever been seen before. Their aura is very powerful, and they're here to bring change. The mechanics in the chart that make a manifestor, and if you haven't listened to last week's episode about centers, it can be helpful to listen to that to understand this. Manifestors have an undefined sacral center, which is that life force, workforce energy, and they have inconsistent access to that. One of the other motor centers, or several of them, will be defined in a manifestor's chart and will be connected to their throat, which is that center for expression and manifestation and action. So they have what's called a motorized throat, a motor connected to the throat. However, they don't have access to that sustainable sacral energy. And again, like I said, they're here to start things, but not necessarily finish. Like they get those creative urges, they put things out into the world, and then usually when they're living in alignment, they'll find somebody else that will really do the work to bring whatever that urge was into completion. They crave freedom, and they are very afraid of being controlled. And like I said, their aura can be really hard to read. And because the aura is hard to read, it makes people want to control them a little bit. Their aura is so impactful on others, and when others don't know what's coming, other people are, oh my God, like, let me try to exert some control. And this is particularly true for young manifestors. their parents try to exert a little extra level of control because they can't be their children and they're, makes them a little bit uncomfortable. And this can make the manifestor go underground a little bit with their power, and it can make them a little bit secretive about what they're doing because they don't want other people to know because they're afraid other people will try to control them. Now, the problem with that is that the manifestor's strategy is actually to inform people. And strategy in human design is the way that we are meant to interface with the world for each, and it's unique to each type. And when people are living in alignment with their type and following their strategy, they're actually going to have a lot less resistance. Now, this is the informing strategy from manifestors is very counterintuitive because they don't want to inform. They're afraid that they're going to be controlled if people know what they're up to. And I can't credit where I heard this from. So unfortunately, I can't give credit where credit is due. But the analogy I heard about this that I really like is the analogy of a train. So when a train comes down the tracks and it's tooting its horn, it is letting people know, here, I'm coming, and you can either get out of the way or you can get on the train. And that is basically what informing is. It's letting other people into their aura by informing them of like, here's what's going to happen. It's not asking for permission. So children manifestors do need to use informing as a way of asking for permission. But once a manifestor is an adult, they don't need permission from anybody. And now the informing is meant for people that are going to be impacted by what the manifestor does. And manifestors are very impactful, and they often don't realize this at all. But other people around them are going to be impacted by the actions that the manifestor takes. So it is a really good idea for manifestors to start making a list and becoming aware of the people that are going to be impacted by their actions. And this can be as little as, I'm going to the store, let me inform my partner that I'm going somewhere so they don't wonder where the hell I went. And this can be as big as like, I'm going to create this really big thing and I want you to know about it because it's going to impact you. So the informing reduces some of that resistance. One of the things that can happen with manifestors, they have this like nonverbal internal creative flow. And when they really get into their creative mode, they're kind of just going, and there's no necessarily thought behind it. It flows through them. It is really a flow. And when they get interrupted in that flow, it can really stop the energy and can be very can even cause them can really create anger. And we'll get more into that a little bit later in the episode. Well, one of the things that informing does is letting other people know, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'd like to not be interrupted so I can really go with my flow. And that will reduce the resistance and also the anger. So that is just a little bit about the manifestor strategy of informing. And if you are a manifestor, again, this is something that really needs to be practiced, but just start practicing, like informing everybody that's going to be impacted by what you're doing. And like I said, this can be as little as, I'm going to the store, or I'm going to take a nap, or I am going to go into my office and do some writing, and I'd like to not be disturbed. This lets people into your aura. It lets them know what's coming. It makes other people more comfortable. And it helps reduce interruptions to your flow. So I'm going to talk a little bit about manifestor signature themes and emotional themes. So for manifestors, so these themes are feelings that let the manifestor know if they are living in alignment or if they are out of alignment. And their emotional or not self theme is anger. And anger, usually it comes up a lot if they're not following their strategy or their authority, and authorities will be covered in a separate episode. It can happen when they're interrupted. It can also, they can run into it in other people. So, they might come across an angry spouse who was not informed by something the manifestor did that really impacted them. So if you're experiencing a lot of anger as a manifestor, either within yourself or within the people around you, that can be an indication. Let's get to using the strategy of informing and your decision-making authority. And the signature theme, when you're living in alignment, or when a manifestor is really living in alignment, is peace. And this peace is very much, it's not necessarily the peace of, sitting in Zen meditation for an hour. It's more about the freedom to follow your flow, to be who you are, to be independent. It is more like that kind of a feeling of peace. So those are the signature and the emotional themes of the manifestor. And the thing with these themes, like anger, obviously, you're never not going to feel anger. I mean, anger is a natural emotion. All people and all types are going to experience this emotion when their boundaries get crossed or when something is really off. So it is definitely going to come up. You just want to know, like, is there excessive anger happening all the time? Am I not informing people that are impacted by my actions? Am I not following my decision-making authority? It's just like a signpost to help you get back on track as a manifestor type. Some other things, because manifestors are very individual, they're mutative, they're here to bring change, they're very different. Manifestors are only 9% of the population. They can feel lonely and alone a lot. It can be a theme for manifestors. And in order for them to heal this, it really helps for them to understand their individual nature, to understand that they are different, to understand that their aura is super impactful and also very hard to read. And so that act of informing can also help with building more closeness with other people. So that is a brief overview, an introduction to the manifestor type and how they can live in better alignment, a little bit about their aura, a little bit about their strategy. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I will see you in the next episode, which is all about generator types. That's it for today's episode. I know your time is important, and I'm so grateful you chose to spend it with me. It would mean the world to me if you rate this episode and include a review on what landed for you. You can also include any questions you have or what else you'd like to learn about. And the absolute best compliment is if you share it with someone you think will benefit. It really helps me spread the message. Love and blessings to you.
Download Insight Timer to listen to this track ad-free.